Hello and welcome into Looking Up with Laird here on Sorare TV. I'm Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare. Joined as always by Harry Trades and Sam Tighe today to add 4 more names to the Sorare data watch list titled Looking Up with Laird on Sorare TV. Gentlemen, last week we had some bangers. I'm not going to lie. We're going to just start off by patting ourselves on the back. Harry actually just a few moments ago had to make sure that we were going to do this because Harry's 2 picks combined for 199 points.
Is that high?
Week right after.
That is high, isn't it?
Yeah. That is high for 2 players. Sam, not bad, except for the unfortunate injury to Angus Gunn.
Yeah.
Which means we may just talk about him in the future because we're like, hey, Angus Gunn is back. Looking up, baby.
Yeah. Well, Vetso came in and, I feel obligated to mention that Kyle Walker-Peters is 2 decisives in his last 2 games as well. L5 of 71. So he's now getting so good I can't fit him into my teams. But if you bought low, great news.
Do you think he's the best pick you've had? Sure. I mean, he's got to be one of the better picks that anybody would have. So
presumably, yeah. He's been fantastic so far. So yeah. On the subject, by the way, of welcoming back a former Looking Up player later on. It's funny that you mentioned that because did you see who made his long-awaited return from injury in midweek in the championship? Our old friend Callum O'Hare.
Wow.
Yeah. So like about
Coventry's finest.
About like a month after we talked about him returning from a long-term injury, he tore his ACL, I think.
Yep.
And he's now back. So that means we've been going about 1 year.
Looking now, it looks like he was injured back in game week 331.
Yeah.
And made his return, in game week 418.
Yep. Good on Callum. So I considered him and I thought it was 2 on the nose. And then you made a joke about it. I thought, well, maybe it was in play. Oh, there you go.
Oof. Well, he's back.
Yeah.
That's what we like to see. Always love to see that. I was looking back. I have the watch list up here. I'm not going to tell you guys, but Kyle Walker-Peters actually has the 3rd highest L5 of any player that we've spoken about on this show.
Wow. 2 bangers then.
Some form, that is.
Antoine Griezmann is number 2. And number 1 is a fairly recent selection. Theo Leo.
Yeah.
Nice.
Big Theo.
Well done, Harry. What's better, 2 spots on the podium or the top 1?
Ooh, good question.
Depends if it's an Mbappe or a Haaland week or not.
Very true, very true.
But yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let Harry go first because when you get 199 points from 2 picks, you get to go first the next week. Apologies, Sam. Unlucky with the Angus Gunn injury, really. I mean,
what can you do? What can you do?
What can you do? Exactly. So, Harry, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, yeah, we're going to start off with my goalkeeper pick that I sort of mentioned to you guys in the chat. And we're going to go with Ivor Pandur.
Ooh.
So, I've been holding a Guth super rare, who's a centre-back for Fortuna Sittard for the last couple of weeks. And he's been rendered useless with the incredibly sort of rubbish run of form they've had as far as, matchup wise. And I was talking with Chani actually this morning. And yeah, he basically was like, have you got a Pandur? And I was like, no. Why? And he's like, have a look at their fixtures for the next literal 4 months. And I was like, okay. I was like, I have a Guth. So I was going to play him this weekend, actually. Looked at the fixtures and was like, hang on a minute. This is a bit ridiculous. I think it was something like, I think AZ is the only team that I'm like, I wouldn't really want to play him against here until February, I believe it is.
Wow. That's when the AZ matches, February.
Yeah, so it's like, even then, okay, you could, Warwick's obviously decent as well. So like, that was like the only game I was a bit like, wow, I probably wouldn't want to play him there, albeit at home. And he seems to do well in those sort of tough games. As long as he doesn't really concede the 3, he does get like, he can get like 25 like quite comfortably.
Shocking that, Harry.
I know. But, the last 3 / you could argue 5 has been obviously pretty tough on them with 4 losses in 4. Yeah, I mean, it's not looking great if if you're looking at those sort of stats, and they're not scoring goals. Not that you need your goalkeeper to be, or your team to be scoring goals to be a good, scoring goalkeeper. But I just think it has to sort of come, sort of flip around. You look at those 5 games before that, albeit ones against Ajax, okay, who are not great obviously right now, but there's some big scores there, and I just think his price for a limited under 23 goalkeeper, I've got £17 here. I think, what is he in dollars? $21 maybe.
Wow.
I was comparing that. Not that it
even.
makes much difference. Like that Pablo Cunat, the goalkeeper I use in my Road to Glory series, he's like a little bit more expensive, and I'm like, I mean, it's not much in it, but I just didn't expect Pandur to be that cheap. I don't know what his rare price compares to if you compare him to other, just under 23 goalkeepers. But his form's been dire, so obviously he's going to be, no one's going to want him in that sense. But I think that fixture run is ridiculous. Like, I've never really seen, there's always it's like 3 games and then a dud, 2 games dud as far as fixtures go. But I'm not seeing hardly any there other than the AZ fixture in the next couple of months. So I think he could go on a stretch of 6, 7, 8, 9 games where you could see some really nice dark green scores. And yeah, for me, he's like, if I had an excess budget, I'd be looking to bring one in, to be honest, in the rare form. But I can't really, unless I can move a goalkeeper on, it's not really going to happen. So yeah, but I think he could really turn that form around.
I wish we had talked about this before the show so that I could have gone and gotten one.
I know, yeah. Wait, yeah.
There's still time.
There is still time. You're right.
There is still time.
I like this. I don't think this has happened before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we've never actually had a pick on here, which is just basically based on, okay, the dark days are over because now look at the fixture list. Like, this is the first one of this style I think I can ever remember. I've definitely never done it. It's a very smart way of looking at things, a very fresh way of looking at it as well.
Especially for a goalie, like, so important, isn't it? Like, we know Fortuna aren't a great team, so we need the odds of the game to be stacked in their favor at the end of the day, as far as they're not conceding many. And they might continue to be really bad, but if I'm looking at the sort of the history of his scoring, it tends to turn around in most games, other than the top end teams in that league. So I don't know, that's what sways it for me, to be honest.
I want to say I tried to do this when I bought Noppert recently, that he has like some horrible scores, but they're against good teams, and Heerenveen are not good. Fortuna are not good. But at some point, they're not the worst, and they will play teams that are at least level to them or worse. And as long as they're coming, this run of fixtures is absurd, though. I've I've never seen one that looks this good. And even though they take a little bit of a break, I can't remember where game week 445 lines up.
Okay, yeah.
I don't even know how to. Let's see, 445. Is that what I just said?
Yeah.
So 445 is the end of January. Oh, so it's not even that far. So they just keep playing through. It's not like they have some long Austrian or Russian break where you're waiting, what feels like 10 years for them to come back. And so, yeah, I love this. I love this call, Harry.
It's interesting, but like, you look at, I don't know, he does seem to score. Like, there's a few, those big games do tend to come against the better teams in a weird way. So like, I think the fact that, this is going against what I'm saying in a weird way, just because they're playing worse teams doesn't mean they're not going to concede in that sense. It's a weird one, but I think they will more often than not keep, or he'll score better. Just in those poorer fixtures for the most part. Like, they're not playing AZ, they're not playing 20, and they're not playing PSV. Like, how unlucky is it to be 3 of them stacked back to back to back? As a run of run of fixtures is ridiculous. But hopefully he can reap the rewards, in the next 8 till 9 game weeks.
Yeah, like fundamentally, goalkeepers score the most points when they have to make saves, and those tend to come against good teams. And so, you just hope that they don't concede 3. But in these instances where they are lucky enough to get a clean sheet, Feyenoord and Ajax, I mean, you're looking at like about as dark green as you'll get for a goalkeeper. And what does he have? Is this? Yeah. So this is last year of U23 eligibility, but still plenty of time, lots of games. I love it. I don't know how I feel now about Harry throwing out goalkeepers, but here we are. Sam, what do you got?
Well, yeah, it means I can't mock him for being a coward
Yeah,
anymore
exactly.
because it's really annoying. Thanks a lot. I am going to go back to the Southampton well, which has treated us very well on this show actually so far, with Kyle Walker-Peters and Kamaldeen Sulemana. So let's add a third name. Let's go for Stuart Armstrong. Not to be confused with Adam Armstrong. They do play for the same club. So to be fair, some people may do that. So just as a warning, there are two Armstrongs at Southampton. Don't buy the wrong one. Although to be fair, neither are that bad a shout. Stu has become a really good SO5 option in the last month or so. He's done what we expected him to, which is take a key role at a club that have been relegated, and so he's now playing against lesser opposition. It's just taken a little bit longer than we thought it would take. So sort of obviously the assumption is in the summer, Armstrong into midfield, no problem. Didn't really happen early on. Southampton were a bit chaotic, as you can see from the early results. But somewhere in the, let's see, where is it? Is it the Leeds game or the Stoke game? Somewhere around there, Russell Martin found what is essentially his best 11, and he's tried to stick to that as much as possible. It has included Stuart Armstrong. He is now the chief set piece taker for Southampton as of the Stoke game, where he netted a 25-yard free kick. He takes corners from one side, and on Wednesday night, when I thought Gavin Bazunu had scored in the 96th minute, it was Stuart Armstrong's corner that Bazunu headed onto a Preston player, and so it went in as an own goal, and I got neither the goal or the assist for either of my players. So thanks a lot for that. But he is now in a position where he's consistently slinging balls into the box. And better yet as well, he had to sit on the bench for the game against Preston because they had to rotate. They'd used the same 11 like 4 times in a row. They had to change things up. They were quite poor without him. He came on, he racked up a bit of AA.
Yeah.
He was really good. So I watched this game. He changed the game for them. Rather than just pedestrian possession play, he really started cutting Preston open. Really good forward passes, good momentum, got them attacking, got the players moving into space. Like he was a really important catalyst for like a speed up in play. And as far as I'm concerned, like, yeah, championship, lots of utility. You're going to have to ride the wave of sometimes these players are going to have to be rotated in and out of the team. And at 31, 32, age 31, like he's not going to play 90 minutes every single game 3 times a week. But as far as I'm concerned, Stuart Armstrong in the last month has essentially popped himself into this key player bucket for Southampton. And it's where Kyle Walker-Peters lives. And it's where a couple of others do. And he's taking the set pieces and he's making the difference. And that's really attractive, I think, from an SO5 perspective.
You had me.
Can we just say Sam could be brothers with Stuart Armstrong?
Think so?
Long loss, but I think there's similarities. The beard, Sam's beard game is stronger, but
yeah, it is.
It is stronger, but I think footballing ability is quite similar.
Yeah, that's not
the
true.
double of you, mate.
That's not true.
But how well can Stuart Armstrong frame a signed jersey? Anyway, that's an inside joke. Sorry, everyone. I think fundamentally, like Sam, that sometimes all it takes for Harry and I to get interested in somebody is the 2 words set pieces. And so as soon as you said that, and then I, of course, look at this beautiful yellow L15 of 40 and think, this guy is at least a perfect cap play with like a number of phenomenal scores behind him. Phenomenal in terms of
phenomenally bad.
Phenomenally bad, but extremely helpful with for an L15. But I mean, like 12, like you said, almost 13 AA and 33 minutes coming on midweek. And for a side that I think, like you said, was in a bit of shambles early in the season, they didn't really know what their best 11 was. Now that they know what it is, good things are coming.
100%. I mean, you'll look at obviously Southampton season to date so far, and people will look at it and be a bit spooked on the scores. But like basically, they were just trying to find answers for the first 10 games, and they cycled through all sorts of different ideas. Obviously, they had this constant threat of players leaving. Will Walker-Peters go? Will Sulemana go? Like, who's off? Like, Teller left. Nathan Teller scored the first 3 goals of the season for Southampton and then moved to Bayer Leverkusen. Like, it's not easy at the start of the season for clubs like this, and it takes them a little bit of time to find what is the correct format for them. And in the last month, Southampton have found it, and Stuart Armstrong is a big part of it. So, I wouldn't be too spooked about what's happened even 6 weeks ago. It doesn't bother me at all. What's really important is what's happened in the last 4 or 5 games. That's what you should be looking at with Stu, because that's the representation.
Yeah, no, I think it all makes a ton of sense. Who was taking the set pieces before him?
So he takes the corners. They take in-swinging corners. He takes corners from one side with his right foot, and Ryan Manning, who doesn't have any cards, the left back, takes them from the other. Manning started the season taking the set pieces from free kicks as well. Obviously, in the first game of the season, James Ward-Prowse took them.
Yeah.
He then left. Manning's set pieces haven't been great. Also, he hasn't been great just generally, and he was suspended for midweek, so he couldn't play. But even with him on the pitch against Stoke, Armstrong took the free kick and it went in. So I think you're getting a decent bite of the cherry here. It's not every corner, but it should be all the ones from the right-footed in-swinger side.
Right. Just looking back at these Swansea scores, my God.
Yeah.
Where's that guy? Come on.
Yeah.
Same manager as well, by the way.
I know. Can you imagine if that guy was minted?
Yeah, let's get this guy. Yeah, for real. Oh my God.
It's outrageous. It's like Rodri.
Well, when there was news of Southampton maybe being reminted for this start of the season, I remember saying to Sean, I was like, have a look at this Ryan Manning kid who used to play for Swans, and he was like, wow, if he gets minted, I'm all over him.
Well, no mints so far. So my Stuart Armstrong on 13% is, and all the others as well. Obviously, I have all the cards. They're all doing great at the moment.
It's cheating.
Up the Saints.
Mr. Trades, on to you.
We're going to the Bundesliga second division, and we're going to have a look at a guy called Nikolai, ending in Lai, Rehberg. No C, sorry. Is he? Yeah, is he? My bad. Yeah, you got him. Second one down. I mean, the way in which sometimes I do my under 23 research is, Sorare Data's players tab, and I'm checking, who've scored, relatively well over the last couple of weeks and what their situations look like. And this guy sort of just stuck out a little bit to me.
Who is this guy? Even his
I would
manager
say this
didn't know
stuck
he was
out.
any. Jesus, look at that.
I mean, I didn't mean to, fall upon him, but he just popped up with that 96, or he would have been quite high up on that sort of under 23, scores for the weekend and whatever. And just noticed that, had been a sub for the start of the season and has managed to work his way into the side over the last 3. Now has mints. He didn't have cards last season. And has been absolutely ridiculous. I think that in that second game, Laird, I know this won't probably happen again. He had 7 interceptions, which is very. I don't think I've ever seen a player get 7. I've seen 6s and 5s. 7's ridiculous. So it's a weird score in that sense, but still great midfielder card. So we'll get those tackles, which he seems to be getting. I've looked on, the sort of predicted lineups for this weekend. He's down to play at it looked like they're playing a back 5 this weekend as far as the predictions go. So he's down to play. So it's not as if he's just come in for those 3 and he's out again. It seems like he's earned his way into that, into that starting 11. They were struggling for form before that, and he's contributed over the last couple of games. They've won the last few and drawn a couple as well. So I don't know. It's just somebody that's come on my radar in that sense. And the run of fixtures, I think they've got 3 home games in the next 5. Sorry, on a unbeaten run of 3 games before that, lost their last 2. So hopefully things are looking up for him and his team in that sense. And his scores look, very interesting. I know there's DAs in there that are obviously going to help him get those peaks, but at least he's doing it. He's been given the chance to start and he's come in and done well. That's all you can ask for a guy that's been on the bench for the last 7 games, right? That's serious impact. How long can he sustain it? Who knows? But I've just thrown this guy's name out there to, so everyone kind of knows that he exists in the Sorare world.
This is a pretty good example of taking advantage of your opportunities right here. Like coming off the bench, and then all of a sudden he gets his start, quick assist, 37 AA. I noticed in that one game, he was at one duel away from the triple double. He only finished with the double, but I don't know what to say other than there's something about.
He doesn't take sets, by the way. I just wanted to say, doesn't take sets.
Yeah, no sets yet.
Not yet. Oh, that's an interesting.
I like this shirt though. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Anyway, this isn't a fashion podcast. Sorry.
Looks like Harry.
You think we're gonna do this now?
Sam, come on. Stuart Armstrong's a lovely looking bloke.
I'm kidding. Yeah, no, it's fine. I don't. Take
it's fine.
Stuart Armstrong is a professional footballer, and he has a law degree. Like, I wish I was that guy.
Huh. Seems like a waste.
Well, you earn more money on the football pitch than you do as a lawyer.
Not in the States.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, the litigious country of all time.
Literally on both ends. You don't make much money as a footballer. Anyway.
That's class.
So U23 through the end of the season. I don't know anything about Holstein Kiel.
Kiel.
Got to work on my German.
Holstein Kiel.
They're mid-table. They're okay. They had an under-23 goalkeeper last season, but
mid-table.
Okay,
podium here.
They would have been mid-table if our guy Rehberg wasn't playing.
I'll say this: Holstein Kiel sounds more like a lager brand.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yep.
Like I've definitely drunk a can of Holstein Kiel, 100%. Never seen him play football though. What does that say?
I spelled it wrong.
Kiel beer.
Falling off the rails here. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Not a fashion podcast, not a beer podcast.
Not a beer podcast either. All right.
Sam,
let's finish this off today.
Isn't the Bundesliga 2 fun? That's like the second one now that Harry's brought up. Who's just like who the hell is that guy? He's played like 7 games ever, according to Sorare data, and he's absolutely smashing it. Like, I wish I was more attentive to this stuff. I guess that's why we have Harry. My final pick. I am excited to see Andrew Laird's face as I reveal this name, because I'm just interested in what is going to happen. Maxime Chanot. Explain that noise.
I'm not going to say anything until you go through your until you've convinced everyone.
I assume that people just thought he'd gone off to pasture once he left MLS, basically. Because from memory, correct if I'm wrong, he was quite a strong scorer at NYCFC.
Absolutely.
And then he moved over to Europe, age 33, and you were like, that's definitely the wrong way round. Like, what's going on there? But he plays for Luxembourg, so could be family ties, could be international commitments, whatever. Maybe he just was sick of being on the wrong side of the Atlantic. Who knows? We'll have to see. But anyway, he's gone to Ajaccio in Ligue 2. And I bought his limited like last month. I remember telling you guys, basically to fill out a limited 240 international break team.
As you do?
Yeah. It was like £2. I was like, he'll do. Do you know what? Since I've bought him, and this is not normal, because usually when I buy players, they nosedive. Since I've bought him, good grief. I need to start getting him into my priority teams. Like, he can hit. He can still hit. I mean, he always has been able to. There's loads of him. Like, he's no secret in so rare terms. But I think just the assumption would be that if you go from MLS back over to Europe, your scores are going to dip. They haven't really dipped. And, like, he's a pretty good player on this game still. He scored really well last week, left him out of the priority lineup. Stubborn, silly. He's going into one this week for sure. Like, I'm really surprised at this. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe that's disrespectful towards MLS. Maybe I'm suggesting that Ligue 2 is easier than it looks or whatever. But some nice little fixtures coming up. Concarneau coming up, and another international break where he will play.
Yep.
Not bad, guys. Not bad. Maxime Chanot, not dead yet. That's the headline.
So I don't know why I snickered, to be honest, because he was always, I mean, his scores kind of say it. He was a solid footballer. He wasn't great at anything, but he's big. He's a solid center back, and New York City FC were better with him on the pitch than off. And
100%.
Him leaving, I think, was actually a bit of a surprise. I don't think there was any indication that he wanted to leave. And it was very sudden. And it was all of a sudden like, I'm gone. And he used to play with Alexander Callens, and they were really good together. And then Callens left for Girona, and we never heard from him again. And Sorare, famous Thiago Martins filled in, and it just like never really worked. But Chanot is very good. And yes, he is a basic locked-in starter for Luxembourg when they need him. I'm assuming actually, what are the odds that all three of the zeros or 2 zeros where he played? Oh, he didn't. Excuse me. He only played 45 minutes in this one. Unlucky in Turkey to have penalty conceded and an own goal. But
I mean, look, pick your fixtures, yeah? Pick your fixtures.
Here you go. But yeah, I'd say he's just the definition of a very solid footballer and who would fit in most leagues. I mean, not maybe the top leagues in the world, but he's good enough. And like you said, like he plays international football Luxembourg aren't great, but they're not San Marino. No offense to San Marino, or all offense really. But yeah, so I think my only response is like, he's fine, but these scores obviously playing now in Ligue 2, it almost looks like they're better than MLS.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Well, we're at Ajaccio in the league as far as, compared to like New York aren't a great MLS team right now, or haven't been. So I'm just trying to wonder, like, is there more clean sheets to kind of add to that score? I mean, they're top third, aren't they? Comfortably.
Yeah, only 10 goals conceded too.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that'll go for him. Every time I watched him play, I thought he was like head and shoulders above sort of anyone else in his team as far as defenders go. Like, he was the captain. Like, he just seemed like a proper leader that New York team needed, because they were pretty young, attacking wise with, Santi and whoever else they sort of have. And he he just stood out as the grandfather of the team. I don't know whether he's like come in is he captain at Ajaccio? I don't know, but I'm sure he'll have some sort of leadership role, being obviously 33, but he just possesses those characteristics and he's a very good footballer.
The best thing about it all, guys, he looks just like Andrew Laird. Have you noticed?
You couldn't find one that looked like me.
Well, I had one player left. I didn't know we were doing the joke until we got on the show.
In fairness,
I'll find one for you.
It's more of a beard competition now, and I'm not going to win the beard competition.
No. But look, obviously, also the central point of all of this, as is often the case, I think that's quite cheap for a player that can score like that. That's obviously a key component of anything that we do here. Part of the reason why he's so cheap is because there's literally thousands of him. Don't underestimate that. There's over 1,000 limiteds. Like, I know that there are a lot of limiteds in this game nowadays, but there still aren't that many players, as far as I can tell, that have over 1,000. It's mostly the America guys, I think. But 1,000 is still a lot. So, like, I don't think this guy's going to spike in price ever again. Right. I don't think anyone should look at Chanot and think, I could flip him for double the profit. Like, he's not scarce enough, I don't think, to be doing that sort of thing. But if you bring him in, he's what? Who's that? That's a good shirt too.
That's Laird, isn't it?
This is the guy who started in goal last game. But it looks like, based on his price graph, I'm guessing something happened to the starter and he took over.
Okay.
I was trying to see who you could pair Chanot with. I don't know anything about this team, so let's see.
Oh. Yeah, who the hell is that?
This is the actual starter.
I wonder what happened. Oh, it doesn't matter. The other guy started and Chanot banged out like an 80 or something like that in the last game. So it doesn't matter who's behind him.
Yeah. No, I think he's about as consistent as you can get. I mean, And so, yeah, if you pick your fixture, and the way that Ligue 2 is, most are probably fine. And so, although we've learned also with teams like Saint Etienne that sometimes games that look fine are not, or vice versa. And so you just play them all the time and you just hope for the best. But
I think this is a week-to-week starter in domestic stuff, and then, don't be shy about playing him against Bosnia and Herzegovina and Liechtenstein for sure. Just don't play him against Portugal. Like, that's obviously insane. Don't do that. So there really aren't very many fixtures he's not usable for.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about the Portugal game is it brought his L15 right down.
So he had minus 25 AA, but surely more 28 of which was just from the goals conceded.
Wow.
Only one of which was apparently his fault.
That's not a bad ratio. There were 9 of them.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's what I mean. Yeah. The reverse, I think they only gave up 6. Is that what I saw? Yeah.
Solid.
So 30. He probably had he must have had a negative AA that day, but yeah, losing 24 to the goals conceded. All right, so and they're done with Portugal. Played them twice, and we move on.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
And what character as well to bounce back from those harrowing defeats to then step in and put up 50s and 60s right from the off. I mean, you can't underestimate that, can you?
It's truly inspiring. It sure is. Absolutely. All right, that's it for today. As a reminder, these players are added to this watch list, as you can see, as we do the video, and this is out before the video is published. And so if you just like this watch list on Sorare Data, you'll get access to these picks, and you can go buy Pandur or Armstrong or Rehberg, if there are any cards, and Chanot before everyone else does. That's the case with all 116 players here that we've added to this watch list, which that's a lot of players. A lot of players looking up. So yeah, thank you everybody for joining, and we'll be back next week with 4 more picks, and hopefully we've got 4 100 scores this weekend from these guys. Thanks, guys.